everyone. Welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about fulfilling your dreams and taking it to the next level. We thank you so much for tuning in this week. We have the whole gang here today. If you're new to this podcast, it's really simple. It's really fun. It's a dad, that's me, John Gonzalez, and his three sons, where we talk about baseball, maybe tell some old stories from the good old days. But most importantly, we try to find people that inspire us to take our game to a different level. Sometimes we might have a coach on, we might have a broadcaster, we might have a player, we might have a little league coach on. You just never know who's going to be on the podcast. We've had so much fun over the years. And right now, Ty, you and I did a little podcast on the World Baseball Classic because, I mean, oh my gosh, it's right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I know. It just started yesterday, and I woke up and said, yeah, we got to get something going on this. I didn't watch that game at 6 o'clock though. I kind of had it on at work for a little bit, but I didn't see who won. I think Panama was winning 5-0 when I was watching.
I think Panama ended up winning 12-5. But I think I also mentioned on the podcast that a lot of the major league teams are playing World Baseball Classic teams right now. So it's kind of fun to watch those scores. Your Mets are playing, I think, Nicaragua.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we do. We have a guest lined up. We're going to tell you all about him in a second. But first of all, let's introduce all the sons. You already met son number 2, Ty. He's the Mets fan, does all of our production for us, keeps us in line at Big League Dreaming, the podcast. Son number 1 is joining us from North Carolina. How you doing, Zach?
Hey, doing good. Glad that we're all on here today. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to have all three of you guys on at the same time. Zach is a Mariners fan. We'll talk about the Mariners at some point. It always comes up in the conversation. But he lined up our next guest, which we'll introduce momentarily. But first, we got to also say hi to son number 3, Zane Gonzalez. He's in South Bend. How you doing, Zane?
Hello. Good to be here.
Good to be here. Good to hear your voice. Good to talk a little baseball. How's your team doing right now?
Bad.
Never minces words, does he? Calls it like it is.
Oh. Yeah, I mean we're tough stretch right now, but we had a week break and we got a couple more games coming up, and then we'll start up conference. So new season's about to start. We'll be fine.
Well, I saw some good things from your team though, when I watched them play down in Atlanta area. They were battling. I mean, they weren't giving up. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our pitching hung in there. I thought our hitters saw probably some of the best arms we'll see all year. When you played Georgia Gwinnett, number 5 in the country, I mean, you're going to see some of the best pitching in the entire country. And I thought we kind of held our own for the majority of that entire series, which was good to see. And we had a lot of fight on this team. So I'm not too worried right now. I think, once we get into conference play, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Zach, why don't you introduce our next guest, because I'm excited to talk to him. We have a lot of similarities. He's a Michigan guy. I love that.
Yeah, very excited. Thankful to have Corbin Clouse on with us today. Corbin's a fellow Davenport Panther, just like me. And he was lucky enough to be drafted by the Atlanta Braves in 2016, played about 5 seasons of minor league baseball in the Braves organization. And right now he's transitioning into coaching, just like Zane. And he's helping out Davenport as one of their assistant coaches. So Corbin, man, thanks for taking the time to chat with us for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Like I said, you got me out of making dinner tonight, so I'm happy to be here, man.
Awesome.
Well, Corbin, we're excited to have you on the show, like Zach said, and having someone that knows a lot of the same baseball circles that we do here in Michigan. I can't wait to talk to you about Kevin Tidy. I've known him forever. And
great guy.
Yeah, he's a character. We've known him for a long time. Our family has played baseball against him and coached against him, and it's been fun to get to know him over the years. But let's hear your story real quick. I know you're from Grand Ledge originally. Were you born in Sparrow Hospital?
Yeah, I was born right in Lansing, Sparrow Hospital. Yeah, grew up in Grand Ledge, graduated in 2013. My sophomore year of high school, committed to go to Western Michigan, and about a year later, I was thinking about it, talking to a bunch of buddies that was on the team, and ultimately I didn't feel like it was the right fit. And so after, it was actually about 2 weeks after I signed to go to Western, I decommitted and Knew Drew Heward, who's assistant coach at Davenport at the time. Also went to Grand Ledge. Our family's been family friends forever, and texted him. And within a week, I was up at Davenport touring, took me up to dinner, said, hey, this is what we'll give you. And about 5 seconds after they offered me, I said, yep, I'm in. Let's do it. And so then went to Davenport from 14 to 16, got drafted in 27th round by the Braves, and played almost 5, I'd say 3 healthy years with the Braves. And then then the rest was not so healthy, but I grinded through it.
Well, I mean, you definitely did. I mean, those first 3 years, I mean, you were one of the top prospects. You know, you went to AAA. I mean, I was looking at some of your stats. I'm like, holy cow, this guy was a strikeout pitcher, right? I mean, you had a lot of swings and misses on those hitters there. So we'll talk to you about your arsenal back in the day. But I'm sure Zach wants to talk to you a little bit more about your Davenport days, right, Zach?
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, first of all, Corbin, hopefully you don't think that was weird that my dad asked if you were born in Sparrow Hospital.
No.
I was born in Sparrow Hospital, so that's why he.
Were you really? Okay.
Yeah, that's why he
nice.
threw that nugget out there. Not to confuse you at all, but yeah, maybe just like touch on a little bit about I guess your time at Davenport. You know, because a lot of kids right now, or a lot of kids all the time, they just want to go D1, but you're able to actually commit to a D1 school, a MAC school at Western, change your plan and end up going to NAIA Division II level with Davenport and still get drafted. So yeah, talk a little bit about your time and the opportunity you had.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of kids make these days is I have to go D1 to play at the next level. And it was the biggest blessing in disguise that I've ever had. It was going to Davenport, obviously at that time, it's 2013. So Zach, how old was the baseball team at that time? Like 6, 7 years, maybe?
Yeah, 2009 was the first year.
Okay, yeah. So it was 4 or 5 years old. Yeah. And so, I mean, if I would have done a little history and research on it, I probably wouldn't have chose Davenport, because ultimately my goal was to get to the next level, because that's not they don't have any history basically. But it was a blessing in disguise because I was going to play every day basically. And that's where you need to find a school that fits you, is where you're going to play every day, because at the end of the day, you can only learn so much on the bench. If you're out there playing games, making mistakes, that's what you're going to learn from. It's not watching players make mistakes and say, oh, I'll do that, I can do that. No, you literally have to go through it in order to get better and get to where you want to go. But going to Davenport, I mean, it was the best thing ever. Like your dad said, Kevin Tidy, I don't call him coach, I don't call him Tidy, I call him dad. He's literally my second dad. He's one of the best guys I've ever met in my life, takes care of everybody. Just the staff around him was incredible. I don't know if you had Wobbs, but Wobbs was crazy, but he's awesome. He was awesome coach. Absolutely nuts though. Just some of the stuff he says and has us do. It's just like, why are we doing this? But it makes sense now looking back at it. But back then it was just like, this guy's insane.
No, Wobbs was a couple years after me, but I remember him at GRCC. But I did have McCoskey and Robert Youngs.
Okay.
Bob, yeah, throwing BP and stuff.
Yeah.
So now you're coaching there, Corbin?
Yeah, I'm volunteering this year. Yep. And then I'm still deciding on what to do. I was so I had Tommy John in March of 21, and I was actually, was it 20? It was 22. And I came home because the Braves said, you know what, why don't you go home? You can stay with your family, friends, and we'll just keep paying you throughout this season. I was like, holy crap, are you guys serious? Like, that's insane. And so I went home and I talked to Tidy, and I said, hey man, I'm going to be here. You want me to just help out? I can do whatever you need. And he said, yeah, 100%. You go on trips with us, everything. And so I finished out last year with them. And then throughout the summer, just worked on my arm, trying to get it back in shape, get it healthy and all that. And every off season that I'm back home, I always work out with Davenport. And like I said, Tidy's a great guy. He doesn't care at all. If I need to throw a live bullpen, he's going to give me a catcher. He's going to give me a couple of hitters. It's unreal what that guy can do. And so I just helped them. And then throughout the process, my arm just didn't really feel too good at all. And I was still throwing it like decently hard, but just the pain that I was getting after throwing I was sick and tired of it after going through my shoulder and now my elbow. Just kind of lost love for the game, I guess, as a player. As a fan, love the game, obviously, but as a player, it's just I didn't have that motivation and grind to get back to where I once was. And so Tidy said, if you want to just become a coach this year with us, more than welcome to. I said, all right, well, baseball career is up in the air right now, but if I do decide that it is done, I'm 100% on board this year. So that's what's happened so far. So
How has that transition been for you going from player to coach? Because I kind of did the same thing for high school. I went from playing junior ball to coaching a high school team when Zane was still in high school. And the transition for me was pretty difficult to go coach and not be playing anymore. Like how's that transition been for you?
So far it's been pretty easy because every time I do throw, my arm hurts. But trying to be a coach these days with younger kids is just something I've never had to do. And I'm still trying to learn how to coach in a way that they understand, I guess. Because my verbiage is like basically at the high collegiate pro level, and these kids are, Davenport's pretty good. We're a pretty good Division II team, but our kids aren't so analytical, and they think they know, but they don't really know. And so we're basically, what I'm trying to do is kind of dumb it down to English, and so they can understand it well and not so professional speaking, I guess. Because as you guys know, like baseball mechanics, you can say one thing 1,000 times and then say it a different way one time and it clicks. And that's the hard part I feel in coaching. It's guys that just know how to talk to a player to get them to understand what you're trying to say to them. And I found it a couple of times, but it's hard, man. It's trying to get the right verbiage to the right kid and help them understand what you're trying to help them with. And it's tough. It's a lot tougher than what I anticipated. That's for sure.
Folks, we're talking to Corbin Clouse. He is one of the coaches at Davenport University, a former draft pick for the Atlanta Braves, drafted in the 27th round of the 2016 draft. He's originally from Michigan, as you heard, Grand Ledge. Zane, I was just listening to Corbin there talk a little bit about that transition from player to coach, but also verbiage and how to talk to players. I'm sure you can relate to what Corbin's saying.
Oh yeah. That's definitely something I had to figure out very fast, because like as soon as I was done playing in my career, I jumped right into coaching in the summer in the Northwoods League with the Growlers. So like I had to learn really, really fast. Thankfully I was just kind of like the pitching coach's assistant. So I had, kind of some time to work underneath him and figure it out. But, kind of what you really have to figure out is, kids today, like it's not how it used to be where you just say, all right, hey everyone, this is what we're doing, this is why we do it, and you guys need to go and execute it or else. Like that doesn't really work anymore. Like today it's very individualized, and you got to learn every single individual player and what works for them. And that's it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of conversations. And you got to be open to let those kids talk. Like, and that's kind of the hardest part, especially when you get new kids coming in, is like learning how each kid just functions, and they got to figure out how you function. And then you got to go every single day and work with those kids and, figure out what every kid's learning style is. Like before we start up fall practice, I have all our pitchers fill out this little short questionnaire. And one of the questions is like, how do you learn best? Is it through visual? So like, do I have to show you a lot of video for something to click? Are you more of a feel guy? Do we have to really feel things out, do a lot of drills for you to feel different things? Are you kind of more of a verbiage guy? Do we just have to talk about it and then you can start to do it on your own? So I think in today's game, it's a lot of, catering to each kid for them to kind of figure it out and, getting them to open up to have conversations.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me that, I mean, the game of baseball has been around for so long, and we've all seen like the Randy Johnsons, the John Smoltz, Roger Clemens, the best pitchers in the game today, Verlander, you got Kershaw, and we're all trying to do what they're doing on the mound, and not one person looks exactly like them while doing it. Their mechanics are totally different, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. And it's so crazy to me that it's just everybody is different in how they throw and how their body moves. And I can't wrap my head around it. Like it's like I tried to feel like I was Justin Verlander pitching, and I'd try to have the same leg lift and all that. And it was just not even close when I took a video and looked at it. It was just, it's so crazy to me. You can't make a cookie cutter of everyone. Everybody's different. You have to try to understand them and learn how they're pitching and how they learned how to pitch and try to communicate what you're trying to do. And it's tough. It's really tough. I'm right there with you though. That's a great idea at the beginning of fall to give them a questionnaire and say, how do you learn basically? What is the best way for you to learn?
Good stuff, guys. Really good stuff. I know that we want to talk, Corbin, about your playing days. I know Zach and Ty are probably itching to asking you about some baseball questions and who you played with and, some good baseball road stories. But just to wrap that college part up, what advice would you have for players that are going into, NAIA, Division I, Division II, junior college? I mean, you're a freshman, you're coming into a program, what advice would you have for them to be successful?
Wherever you go, just make sure the coaches you trust or they trust you. Biggest thing, end of the day, I think, is go somewhere where you're going to play, because I think that is the biggest thing. You have to play to get better and learn the game, because nobody's perfect. You're always going to be making mistakes, and that's how you learn, is by making mistakes, and you ultimately get better by it.
I want to know about draft day. What did draft day look like for you? Like, were you expecting to get drafted? Were you the guy like sitting, waiting for your phone call? Like, were you talking to teams, or was it more unexpected? Like, what was that process like for you?
I had a crazy draft day. It was the third day, and I was expecting to get drafted, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. And so that morning, my buddy calls me and says, "Hey, we're baling hay today. You want to come help?" And I said, "Let's do it, man." So we're at his farm and up in the barn attic when it's June something, like whatever, 11th, 12th, 13th, whatever it is. So it's hot in Michigan, and we're up in the attic in the barn, and it's got to be at least 120, 130 degrees up there. It's so hot, surrounded by hay. And I've got pretty bad allergies, so it was not easy up there for me. It was red eyes, and I was sniffing and sneezing. And so we're up there. Of course, we're both drinking beers, because that was the only thing we had. It was beers and hay. That's it. And so about, I don't even know what time, but Clyde Weir, he was the Tiger scout. He calls me and he says, "Hey, we're in the first or second round right now. How much money do you need?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh man, we just signed a kid for like 40 grand. That's way above us. And I think we're gonna have to pass." I was like, man, okay, because that would have been sweet, obviously, right? I mean, growing up in Michigan, you drafted by the Tigers, that's like perfect. And so that was kind of disheartening. And the only other team that was really in on me were the Reds. And I hadn't heard anything from them at all. And so we're just baling hay, and then we get done. And my teammate calls me from Davenport, Brandon White, who also got drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 12th or 13th round. And he goes, "Hey, congrats, you got drafted by the Reds." And I go, "I did? Okay, thanks. Cool. Like, I haven't heard anything, but cool." And so then Rick Sellers, the Atlanta Braves scout, starts calling me while I'm on the phone with Brandon. And he goes, "Hey, buddy, we just took you." And I go, "What do you mean?" I just got told I was drafted by the Reds. He goes, "You did? No, pretty sure we just drafted you." And I'm like, "Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now, but this is awesome." So end of the day, Rick calls me back and he goes, "Yeah, we definitely just drafted you." So I was like, "All right, cool. Looks like I'm an Atlanta Brave right now. That's pretty sweet." So yeah, I wasn't even with my family. I was just with one of my best friends, his family, and eating pizza and drinking a beer while I got drafted.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. That's one of the best draft stories I've heard in a while. That's awesome. Well, for you actually got to experience every single level with the Braves, from rookie ball up to AAA. You're even in the Arizona Fall League for a little while. I see you rocking the AA Mississippi Brave shirt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what was your favorite level out of everything since you got to experience all of them?
Definitely AAA. AAA was by far the best level. I mean, in every aspect, the team was amazing. I mean, I want to say probably 85 on the safe side percent of that roster has been in the big leagues at one point in their career. And I mean, you get surrounded by those type of guys, it just elevates you to another level and makes you want to compete even more. I mean, the clubhouse was really nice. The clubbies that they had in there, I mean, they had a Red Bull fridge, they had water, Gatorade, everything in there. I mean, the food was unreal. We took a plane everywhere. If we ever took a bus, there was 2 buses, so you got basically your entire row to yourself. If we had a really long bus trip, it was a sleeper bus. I mean, down at the lower levels, you're sitting next to somebody, and it's a 8-hour bus ride that is very uncomfortable. And AAA, you get taken care of for sure. Ballparks, unreal. You got Durham and Charlotte, and I mean, Gwinnett's pretty nice. I mean, they're top notch down there, so it's sweet.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled here in Charlotte to have the Knight Stadium here. A lot of the people here kind of take it for granted, but yeah, it's awesome. A lot of the AAA ballparks in that league are really nice. So really cool you're able to experience all that. And I'm sure you got to face some pretty good hitters too, right?
For sure. Oh yeah, you always had major league kickbacks, and I mean, you had guys on rehab and all that. So it was always fun, man. I mean, this wasn't AAA, but it was big league spring training when I'm facing George Springer, and you got I almost hit somebody in the face when I threw a pitch. I think it was Colby Rasmus. I think he's a lefty.
Mhm.
No, was it? I can't remember who it was, but I almost hit somebody in the head first pitch of big league spring training game, and I was like, "Holy, this is yikes!" I gotta dial it down a little bit and figure this out.
Probably had all the adrenaline going.
Oh yeah, yeah, took it to another level for sure. My parents were there. I mean, it's first time ever pitching like for a big league team, and yeah, I had a lot of adrenaline going. That's for sure.
How do you prepare for those moments? I mean, you talked about being around players that are either on the major league roster or they're on their way up. They're going to play. So you're competing at a very high level. How do you prepare that when you go and get into a game to pitch? Because when you're basically a reliever at that point, right? In your career.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, nothing changes ever since obviously the big step was from college to pro, but nothing really changes. If it does change, that's a problem. You can't make the moment too big, I guess. You just gotta, they literally do the same things you do, man. Baseball's really hard. Throw the ball over the plate and see what happens, execute a pitch. And I mean, that's all you can do, right? I mean, ball's out of your hands at that point. So you just got to take it pitch by pitch. You can't really prepare any differently. The end of 2018, we had guys that were getting pulled up to the big league club, and I was the youngest reliever on the staff. And they said, guess what? You're starting today. We're not starting. They all had big league time. They had everything. And they're like, yeah, you're 22. You're going to pitch now. You're starting. So, and I started treating those games as if I was a starter, and that's where I got into trouble. I'm definitely not a starter. I'm a reliever. So it was, if we were away, I would start pitching or warming up in the bullpen, first pitch of the game. If I was home, I literally start throwing a pen about 5 minutes before the anthem. So, I mean, I was still, because I'm used to the, holy crap, I got to get ready right now. I got 10 pitches, let's go. And that's what I was used to. And I treated it as I was a starter, my first start. And I started warming up 30 minutes before the game. I was taking my time, and I only went 2 innings, and I gave up like 2 or 3 runs. And I was just, why would you do that? Why would you change everything just because you're starting? So yeah, definitely can't make the moment too big. Baseball's baseball. That's all it is.
Zane, do you have any questions?
I think probably the only question I would have would be like, what's the biggest difference you saw maybe in levels was probably in like the preparation you guys would go through before like a series. Like, how much information would they give you? Would it change based off which level you were at, and kind of compared to what it's like now in college and what you guys are giving your guys before a series?
Yeah, so basically AA down, there's not much scouting reports going on. I mean, there is, but you have to ask for it. And they have no problem giving it to you or anything like that. But as soon as you get to AAA, we have pitchers meeting with the catchers, and we'll go through every single hitter. We'll break down things that hitter does well, what he struggles with, what counts are good to throw this pitch, what counts are bad to throw that pitch. Does he take first pitch? Does he take first pitch off speed? Does he steal first pitch? Does he run at all? Is he heavy pull? Whatever it is he chase a lot? And we'd go through all that, and it was pretty much up to the pitcher how much information that we wanted to take in. For me personally, I wanted to take in as much as I could. So I would pick out about 4 or 5 hitters that can do some damage on me, whether that's stealing a base or hitting a home run or jumping a first pitch. So I'd pick out 4 or 5 hitters and try to memorize everything on that scouting report, and just remember when they come up, okay, this is what this guy does. And it shouldn't change the way that I pitch, because obviously I made it to AAA by pitching a certain way. So if my strength is throwing a fastball in, and that hitter that's his strength too, is hitting a fastball in. It shouldn't be, okay, well, then I have to throw sliders away or fastballs away. I can't throw it in because he's really good at hitting fastballs in. That's something that I definitely learned the hard way. There was a game, it was bottom of the ninth, and I think it was a tie game. It had to have been a tie game. Bottom of the ninth, just started the inning. First batter comes up, and I recognize the name. He never swings first pitch. He took the first pitch fastball about, like, I think it was 96% of the time. And so I said, oh, sweet. Okay. Here's a fastball right down the middle. First pitch swings, home run, game. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But then I thought back to it. It's like, dude, you never throw a fastball right down the middle first pitch. You always try to go in, or you go cutter in, or you go slide, whatever it is. It's never a fastball right down the middle. Here it is, hit it. And that was when I was like, okay, well, you really got to take everything with like a grain of salt. And I mean, yeah, that's their strength, but that can't be your weakness too. I mean, you got to use it to your advantage. You know something about them. They probably know about you too, but I mean, then it's just, here we go, toe to toe. And definitely the scouting reports are a lot better in AAA. More analytics too about you yourself as a pitcher. Found out every 3-2 pitch to a lefty that I threw, 100% of the time was a slider. I threw a slider 3-2 100% of the time to, I think stat was like 21 lefties. I was like, holy crap. That's insane. 21 times I threw a 3-2 slider. Like, I would have never even guessed that. That just sounds absurd to me, but apparently I did it.
Good question. Ty, anything from you?
Yeah. When Zach mentioned earlier, you got to experience every single level of the minor league, single A, double A, triple A. Was there ever like a time during the call-up process where you were like, I don't think I'm going to get called up like anytime soon? Or maybe on the flip side, like, when am I getting called up? Like, or was it pretty like spot on with how you were performing?
Yeah. So, back in 2017, started the year in high A and started god awful. I had like the worst month of April that any relief pitcher could ever have. I had like a 13 ERA. And I was like, holy crap, I'm on the fringe of getting released. Like, this is nuts. And luckily figured it out and went like, I don't even know, 30 something scoreless innings, but it was, I think, July that I got my ERA down to like a 2.5 or something like that. And at the time I could tell, like, okay, I have to be the next guy that gets moved up to double A. And so there was a specific date where it just made sense for me to get promoted that day to double A, because they had like an off day, and I had just like pitched the night before or something like that. And my girlfriend at the time and my dad were coming down to Florida, and they kept saying like, hey, do you really think you're not going to get promoted? And I said, I don't think so. It should have happened today. And so they go ahead, book their flights. My dad gets a non-refundable hotel. Next day at practice, before the game, warming up, I'm trying to avoid the coaches because I don't want to get promoted because they're about to come down. And avoiding the coaches, and I'm playing catch. They don't come up to me. We're taking BP. And I'm like, wow, I really didn't get promoted. This is good. Like, I'm happy because they're coming down. And during BP, our pitching coach yells out, Corbin, come in here. So I go, okay, something, I don't think it'd be promoted because they usually do that at the beginning of the day. So you get to pack up and get there. And he goes, you need to go to Skip's office. And I'm like, damn, I actually got promoted. Okay, well, I'm happy, but and so then it was just a frantic, like, call dad, call the girlfriend, hey, change of plans. Yeah, you guys can't come here because I won't be here. And
You
Oh,
could,
man.
but it'd be no fun.
yeah, right. And so my dad ended up losing like $1,000 on the hotel and flight, and then he spent like another 1,000 for his new flight because my girlfriend took the last flight. It was like $400 or $500, but it was an expensive day, that's for sure.
Dang.
But yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, pretty much the only time that well, actually then it was 2018, I was doing pretty well, and I was going into the pitching coach's office and saying, hey, what do I need to do to get promoted? And he was like, I don't even know. I'm telling them that you need to get promoted, and they're just not doing it. And it was really frustrating because there was guys on that team that at the time I was doing better than, and they were getting promoted. And it was just like, what do I have to do? It was really tough, but at the end of the day, ended up getting promoted about a month later. So it was all good, but yeah.
Corbin, I know that, yeah, good question, Ty. I know that, you know, we all have our major league dreams, right? I mean, these three boys of mine, even myself, that's a whole different story for a different podcast. But you know, you made it pretty far. I mean, you're knocking on the door. You've had you had success. You know, I read one report on you from 2019, I think, where they said, you know, this guy will be in the Braves bullpen, you know, by the end of the year, you know. So, you know, you're that close. So how do you have a lifetime of playing baseball, you know, successful high school program, legendary coach you played for, you go to Davenport, another legendary guy that's helping you, you know, fulfill your dreams, take it to the next level. You keep progressing up to each level, right? And then you blow out your arm and things change drastically. I mean, how do you cope with all that?
Good support system. I mean, honestly, it's good support system. It's been a real blessing with my wife, my parents, friends, my wife's family. I mean, they were just there for every step. I mean, they would be straight up honest with me. If you don't make it, it's totally fine. Like, you have a home here. It's okay. But yeah, I mean, I got really close, and then it didn't seem like the end was near with my shoulder in 2019. It just, because my shoulder had been bugging me since I got drafted in 2016. And I just said, you know what, I'm getting my labrum fixed. And other than that, my shoulder and my arm is healthy. Like, everything else in my body is good. I just needed my shoulder repaired, and we're solid. Then COVID hit and all that. But I mean, yeah, it's honestly, I'm very fortunate for the people I have in my life. I don't think they understand how much they helped me through it. I mean, I obviously say thank you and all that, but I don't think they understand how much they helped me get through. I mean, 2 huge surgeries now, when it's your childhood dream to get to the big leagues. And I was literally 3 days away from getting there. And then that got all taken from me. But the blow was softened a lot because of the people that I have in my life. No doubt. Yeah.
Pretty powerful stuff. Not everyone is as fortunate as you, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, very lucky.
All right, Zach, you want to wrap this thing up?
Absolutely. Thanks again, Corbin, for taking the time. We kept you way longer than promised.
Totally fine.
So yeah, we appreciate it. Always good to talk to people in baseball. I mean, that's why we put the podcast together, because it's a way for our family to keep in touch and keep talking baseball, what we love. So thank you so much for the time, and best of luck to Davenport and the rest of y'all season this season.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me. That was fun.
First podcast ever. It was awesome.
Make sure you tell Tidy you hung out with the Gonzalez boys.
I will. I'll tell him tomorrow.
All right, Ty. Tell people where they can get more information about Big League Dreaming, the podcast.
Yeah, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're also on YouTube, so give us a subscribe over there, and then follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at BLD Pod. That's at BLD POD, and we're also on TikTok at Big League Dreaming. We hope to hear from you.
Take care, everyone. See you later. Bye, Corbin.